In this little clip, I want to talk to you about brain scanners. They've been around for about 20 years. In the last 15 or so, they've really started to change the way that we think about the brain. They started out being able to scan anatomy, and then they ended up being able to look at the activity of the brain. And this has led to all kinds of wonderful things that we'll talk about some in this course, because they really do relate to Psych 1, since it's human brains in action. Here's a modern brain scanner. Here's the kind of image it might produce. Here's another image of a brain scanner, and this one shows something that you never want to see. This one is taken from an fMRI brain scanner, something that shows the activity of the brain. The F stands for functional. In this case, it's a brain of a young woman looking at pictures of cute baby faces. And you see in orange what parts of the brain are activated. This is the nucleus accumbens, a brain area that also is activated when people or animals take cocaine. Interesting. Now I want to just take a minute and try to explain to you how you get that picture. Because for most people it's a complete mystery. So the way it works, it's in a brain scanner that's going to look at anatomy, is that they will shoot an X-ray through your head, come out the other side, and they can measure how much your head interfered with that X-ray. For example, if it went over your head, there'd be no interference at all, but because the skull is thick, it takes out some of the X-rays. So if they move the array along the face, or this way, across the top of the head, better yet, they can get an image, a set of numbers which relate to the density of the X-rays. So how do they turn that then into a picture? Well, that depends on an old parlor trick in mathematics. So if we take a picture like this in 2 dimensions, and we decide to draw something through the picture, like a line, then that line passes through at various levels. Where it passes through something dark, like let's say the person's bow tie at the bottom, it might be a small number, maybe 100. Where it passes through something that is not there at all, like up here, the number might be, say, 600. So what you get is a series of numbers like that. Now those numbers aren't useful for anything, but it turns out that if you rotate the array and you do it over again, and collect those numbers, then rotate the array again and do it again, collect those numbers, and finally let's go all the way around to vertical and collect those numbers. What you get is a mess. And those numbers can be added up by a modern computer. And the magic is that if you take all those numbers and you add them up and you do the right computations, you get back the picture. So how does that help the fMRI machine or the brain scanning machine for anatomy? Well, if you put the X-rays through the head like this, and then like this, and then all the way around, you can do the same reconstruction. And then what it looks like is that you took the top of my head and cut it off and looked down from the top to see what the brain looked like from above. And the patient is unharmed. You get an image that previously doctors only got in postmortem exams. Now, I had a friend growing up who was a neurologist, became a neurologist, and wanted to do a paper on some patient that he had. But the family didn't want to give up the body. They wanted their grandfather buried whole, so he never did the patient. He never did the paper, excuse me. Today, as a part of the diagnosis of what was wrong with that patient, he would have had a brain scan. So then all he would have needed was the permission of the patient or the family to publish that picture, which they had already seen. And so modern neurology gets information right away that it can use. Because the scans can be functional, psychologists can use them to determine, let's say, what happens in the brain if you look at pictures of cute babies.